Welcome back, Metalheads, to Third Party Throwdown, and today we're going to be looking at the Daban Super Gundam. So this is based off of the MG Mark II Gundam, but also comes with the G-Defensor. This kit is absolutely gorgeous. We are going to break down some of the biggest issues I had with this kit, but as far as how it looks, it is an absolutely beautiful kit. So it does come with a lot of part separation that would make it really easy to customize and make it kind of your own. In fact, my plan later on is to turn this into a Titan's colors, utilizing a lot of that part separation. It does come with the G-Defensor, and this has been updated as well, and we'll take a closer look later. Now this is compatible with the Bandai MG 2.0. You may have to do a little bit of modification on the backpack to get it to fit properly, but it does fit pretty well without any modifications. I would definitely suggest taking a look, to see if you need to do some modifying.
Alright, so let's take a look a bit closer at this kit and talk about some of the things I found that really just took away from the overall score for this kit. So first of all, as you can see, it is an absolutely gorgeous looking kit. The details are absolutely fantastic. I especially love the legs. The detailing on the legs is just phenomenal. However, there are several issues that I do want to discuss before giving a final score. First of all, the articulation in the arms is really low. So as you can see, I can move the arm about there before it gets stopped. It does have a hinge right there, which you can move, but you can only get about that far with it. I will link a video down in the description for some easy fixes that you can do to really fix a lot of these issues. But that's my number one issue with the arms as far as articulation. Otherwise, you have some really good articulation here. It is well done on that. Some people have said that this part pops off. I haven't had that issue. I don't know if it was something in their build or not, but I have not had that issue. So moving on from the arms, or keeping with the arms, excuse me, you do have some cool stuff right here. This little piece right there, it's a little plate that you can pop in if you want to cover up the peg hole for the arm. So you can put the shield on any side, and if you don't want to be able to see that peg hole, you can pop that in and it'll be nice and hidden, which I always appreciate in a model kit because it gives you options. Alright, so moving on, once again, I really love the detailing on this kit. However, I do want to point out, while when I first started building this, I was really impressed with the head. It looks pretty good when you're building it. The V-fin is a bit loose. Once I'm done with the review, I'll probably go back and fix a lot of this that I'm talking about, but I wanted you guys to be able to see exactly what I mean. So in the original Bandai Master Grade 2.0, the head is two parts that you squeeze together like this, and so it goes, you put it together, which leaves a pretty significant seam right here that you have to deal with. And if you're like me and do a lot of LEDs, it becomes a bit of a pain because it's actually pretty tight. But here they tried to fix that by making it a 3-piece head. And you can also see, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but the eye stickers are really far up in there. I would suggest moving those down a little bit. But anyway, what they did here is they switched it up and made it 3 pieces. A little bit of Next is panel lighting. I didn't clean up because I'm lazy. They switched it up like this. And if you're familiar with the RG Mark II, which is fantastic, by the way, this is almost like they scaled that up completely to make this new head sculpt. Now, while that's all well and good, and it does look great, it absolutely looks great, one of the biggest issues I have with this is that it seems a little bit smaller than the original 2.0 head. And so it catches me off guard. I look at it and I just see it looks a little bit small, kind of like one of those big muscle people, where they have really big muscly bodies and tiny little heads. And so that's kind of what I get the vibe on. But I mean, honestly, it does look good. I appreciate what they did there, but that does kind of throw me off a little bit. So moving on to the rest of the body, this part looks good. I'm not a big fan. They went the extra mile and put in these clear parts for the chest. However, I think these should have been inset clear parts instead of just like sticking out. It kind of looks a bit awkward. They increase the waist rotation, but it does make it a bit loose at the waist. It's not going to fall apart at the waist. It's actually, they've put in this little swivel motion, but it's not going to fall apart, but it's not going to fall apart at the waist, but it is a little bit, I kind of pushed it too far there. It is a little bit more loose at the waist. So I'm going to take the arms off here really quick. As we move through, I'm going to be kind of disassembling most of the parts here. So we do have an opening cockpit. If I can get in there. Doesn't want me to. Doesn't want me to show it off. Okay. It does have an opening cockpit gimmick. As you can see, it does have the opening cockpit. It's a pretty cool little gimmick. For those that like to do that kind of stuff. I'm not as big on things like that, but it's an option, and options are always good. So I'm gonna pop this off. So you can see, yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you either like it or you don't. It does use a little ball joint. It does have lots, if you are a modder, it does have lots of room for you to mod this kit inside. So it's a pretty nice little situation in there. So now moving on to the area where I have some of the most concerns with the kit. So on my Bandai 2.0, I was able to pull off some pretty nice poses. I mean, the leg separation here, the part separation is fantastic. I would love to just take this leg off and use it on my Bandai Mark II. Like, I love the separation, all these different pieces. It's really gorgeous. I absolutely love that separation. The skirting looks really good, except for one thing. The waist here is probably the biggest headache, because if you want to pull this thing up, this is about as far as you're going to get before it pops off, because it has a static little thing there that doesn't move with the ball joint, as you can see. And then here's the next part. These guys right here just fall right off all the time when you're doing stuff. That does drive me nuts a bit. But that's like the biggest part, is you're not going to get very good articulation here. I'm sure there's probably a way someone could modify this, or even use possibly some of the Bandai parts to reconstruct this and make it better. Once again, I'm going to link a video that was sent to me that shows how to fix a lot of these issues. The next part I want to discuss is these guys right here. The little, let me get my little thingy here. The little piping. Now, the Bandai one has this purple fabric. Cool, it looks good. This is snakeskin. Literal snakeskin. And it is a lot tougher than the Bandai one. This, number one, it frays at the edges really badly because it's snakeskin, and it's not as flexible. And so you get a lot of problems out of putting this in there, and then the end result, I mean, honestly, just doesn't look well. I kind of want to go to like a hobby store to see if I can find just some tube fabric that I could replace that with. But other than that, really, the articulation of the legs is pretty good. About the same that you could expect from the Bandai kit, and it really does just look phenomenal when it's all said and done. I mean, if you took the time and painted this and really took your time, obviously, you know, I was rushing so I could get the review done, but if you really took your time, I mean, check this out. The toe bend moves that piece down, and this is based off a kit, the first 2.0 kit. So the amount of gimmick articulation here is phenomenal. So those are my main issues with the main part of the kit. Let's talk about some of the accessories. So no problems here. I do wish they had done a clear part. For the bazooka, you can take this off. Oh, I did have one issue with the bazooka. I don't know if it's just me or if I missed something while building, but I have a pretty hard time getting it to stay in here. It kind of just tends to want to pop out whenever it touches anything. So I don't know if that's just a me thing or if that is something else. But I mean, the bazooka looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. A little dark. I would definitely repaint this, but it did come together pretty easily. No real issues. And keep in mind, a lot of times you have fitting issues on third-party kits. You've missed one of the undergated parts, because most of these third-party kits are largely undergated. This one was, and I think always go back over, make sure you've sanded everything that you need. It takes a little bit more care to do a third-party kit than it does a Bandai. The gun, once again, a little too dark for my taste, but everything fit together nicely. It looks good. It does have a pretty nasty seam line right down the middle on this, and it's hard to pick up on camera because it's so dark. There you go. It does have a pretty nasty seam line right there that you can fix. But that's pretty typical with weapons. This can be stored on the hip skirt as well. Anywhere you see, let's see if I can get that, this little square thing, it means it can fit into one of the hip skirt pegs on the side. So it can be, do that where you can see, it can be stored here on the hip skirt. Along with extra, you get two of these extra bazooka ammo. So let's go on to some more of the accessories. We do have the retractable shield gimmick. So it does retract. It looks great. I love the extra detailing that they've done here, and on the side. I think they did a fantastic job with the detailing on this kit. It is a little bit difficult to get it untransformed, at least on mine it was, but it just took me a little while to learn. Now, cool addition they did that isn't on the Bandai kit. They've added some kind of, it looks like a missile pod on the end of the shield here. And that, if you don't want that on there, if you want to be more traditional, it is removable. So it just pegs in there. It's not holding anything together. But I actually kind of like, I always like the idea of extra weapons on a shield or something like that. So I think it's a pretty neat addition. And it folds up nice and neat and will fit directly into the arm. Well, onto the arm holder here. So you got two positions for that. Once again, the snake skin piping, you can really see it here, how it's bent. Really does kind of take away. I'm sure you could put some, like, maybe a cord or some wire in there to kind of bulk it out and keep it from doing that. But I think they really dropped the ball with using that snake skin. Wonder if there's some alternatives that could be used. So this piece right here isn't in the instructions. This covers up the hole for converting it to the Super Gundam. So other than that, this is pretty straightforward. It works well. No issues with this part except for the snake skin part. It pegs in just fine to the body, holds on fairly tight. So no issues with that. Oh, back to the shield really quick. I almost forgot. So on the Bandai one, these extra clips right here, they can fit on to the shield. Here, it is just not going to happen. You could glue it if you want. I decided to leave it off just for right now. I'll probably glue it in the future. But I cannot figure out anything. These are just too small to actually fit properly onto this. I'm not putting it on the wrong way. It's just not happening. So another piece that is not in the instructions at all, so make sure you check your runners, is the head Vulcan. The Vulcan pod that goes around the side of the head. This isn't in the instructions at all. And look, I can just, this thing just pops right off. Glue that. But this isn't in the instructions at all, and I wonder why it isn't, but I mean, because it does look pretty cool, but it doesn't look that great when compared to the Bandai one that actually looks like a Vulcan. This looks more like a sensor. You could probably modify this and have some fun with it. So this isn't even in the instructions. You'll have to look up how to make it. It's just a few parts, but I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parts to put this together. The antenna does not stay on. I glued that. I know I should have waited till after the review, but I was worried I was going to lose it, so I went ahead and glued that one on. Definitely is a cool little add-on. Now, one of the main features of this kit is the G-Defensor. And honestly, this thing came together pretty well. It still comes apart pretty well, no problems with that. Now, I didn't have the original G-Defensor to compare it to, but just based on what I've seen, this is a lot more detailed than the Bandai one. Of course, you got the long gun right there. Nothing to really write home about. You got some seam lines you need to take care of, but nothing too crazy. I actually really like this thing. In the right here, they have a clear piece. I would definitely suggest, you're gonna have some fitting issues there. Use a file to, I can't really open it up right now, to open up the place where it plugs in. So you'll need to file that out a little bit to get a cleaner you know what I'm trying to say. There are some seam lines on this, especially right here, but that's easy to take care of. Other than that, I mean, this thing looks pretty good. I think it's a good little representation. I probably don't know if, and this does fit on the Bandai unit, and it does the full transformation for the Super Gundam. This just slides up and down, so you can position it. Make sure you got these in good, because at first I was doing it wrong, and it's not really stated in the instructions too much, but it does need to go all the way into the poly cap here. You got lots of movement on this thing. You can make it look how you want. One of my favorite parts is the missile pods right here. These are each individual missiles, which is actually really cool. But I did lose one for a while, and that almost drove me nuts. So make sure, use a tray or something. You have some articulation right here. However, this does, just like the hip skirt, I think they could have used a smaller poly cap or a longer peg to help keep that in place.
So now on to the review totals. As far as appearance goes, this kit is amazing looking. Aside from the head, which definitely deducted some points, I thought overall the detailing on this is just fantastic. There are definitely some hits or misses here or there on it, but for the most part, I really like how this kit turned out. Now on to ease of build. For the most part, this was a straightforward build. There were some areas where the instructions didn't really give a clear picture of how you were supposed to do it, or in the case of the Vulcan pods, completely left them out. So it did cause some issues there, so make sure you take your time. As far as any major fitting issues, nothing too bad. Take your time, make sure you clean the nubs up. The biggest one, obviously being like the fact there are some loose parts, like the V-fin on the head, that you're definitely going to need to glue in later. But as far as ease of build, it's fairly straightforward. The score gets brought down because of those issues. Now on to the build quality. How will it hold up? Well, I'm going to go ahead and say I was not as impressed with the build quality as I thought I was going to be, especially with the hip. The hip area just really, really brings it down for me, with it popping apart all the time. And the lack of articulation in the shoulders brings that build quality down. You're not going to get the greatest poses out of this, and this is things to keep in mind as they're about to release the full armor, and hopefully they do fix some of those things. These are easy fixes for the most part, but still those hips really bring it down for me as far as the build quality goes. Now on to the overall score. I took these three and just got the average score. So I'm gonna give it a 72%. It's a little bit of a C minus. I would totally give it a nice B plus after I fix some of these issues. It's a really good kit. Just the thing is, the Bandai one beats it out as far as articulation goes, and it is a solid kit. It's hard to beat the 2.0 Mark II when it comes to just a solid kit. So with all that said, thank you once again to our sponsor, Gundam Kingdom, and we'll catch you next time on the next third-party Throwdown.